Hey everyone, it's Clint. Welcome to Sweetcast. The grass is always greener on the other side, unless of course you look over the fence and you see how brown and gray and nasty it is over there. They need to seed or something. It's something's wrong with it. Anyway, well, I want to talk about this article. This is Mags Saccio on the comics editorial process from hell. Well, that's interesting. Now, I've actually heard some terrible horror stories from working with editorial in mainstream comics. And it actually seems like it's more common than uncommon. Perhaps. I think it depends on the editor. But the thing is, people don't stay put for very long in comics. That's how it is. And so you could look and say, hey, I want to work in indie comics because I can run my own show. You're going to have your own horror stories there. But I mean, which is really better? Like, if we take a step back, let's find out. We'll go over this horror story and see what's worse. All right. First, though, check out the Alterna Comics Winter 2021 pre-order campaign. This is awesome to see that Alterna Comics is quarterly putting out a campaign, 10 books once a quarter. That's pretty fantastic. If I were you and you're watching this channel, go back it and you can get the Downcast issue number 4 here. This is a perfect example of trade dress making it just sing. It ends up really great when you put the trade dress on. Love that. So check out that issue number 4. You can back it there and then add on anything to your heart's galore. Galore to your heart. I don't know. Whatever. Your heart will be happy with you. But it's already approaching $9,000. It's only been up for like 24 hours as the time I'm recording this. So it's doing very, very well. So check that out. Link in the description below. All right. So Mags Visaggio says, comics writer, she put a screed. We're going to go full screed on Twitter. And it was basically editor did all these things wrong. So I'm not going to go through this because I've seen it on other YouTube videos. Essentially, Mags put in a pitch to an editor and said, hey, this is what I want to do with this IP. Turns out the IP was Transformers. How would that be to be pitching for Transformers? The only thing standing between you and being an official Transformers writer is editorial. And you got to make that editor happy in order to make it happen. It depends on who the editor is, and it depends on who the writer is. Like, what stories do you have? If you put me in on Beast Wars, I guarantee you I would crush it. Give me a shot. I want to do Beast Wars. But at any rate, what essentially happened is a runaround. I have experienced this before, not exactly the same, but I did talk to an editor for a publisher. I was potentially going to write something for said publisher, and it was more just, hey, getting back to you, getting back to me. Nothing happened. And part of it's probably my fault. Like, I could have pursued it more. I could have pursued it, but who cares? I got stuff to do, whatever. So I dropped the ball, I guess. In this case, it was desperation turning into falling out of love, perhaps. I don't know. But this is where it ends. Okay, and this was, I think, the interesting part. Said editor was tasked with developing a number of IP properties, a number of titles, and trying to get something going. Said editor failed. So, question is this a writer not doing good work that needs to be done, or is this an editor gumming up the process? How many books have you seen come out that were poorly written? They ended up being trash, and where are you left with that now? So what it needed was an editor to put their foot down and say, this isn't good enough. You got to do better than this. So in this case, I don't really know who is at fault here, but I can tell you that editor stepped down. Now that the editor stepped down, finally Mags can tell the story and make it public. Is that a good idea to do? That could be a whole different video topic. But I don't know. It can be a nightmare. Anyway, so I'm going to read this last paragraph here. Anyway, remember, kids, comics is an absolute nightmare business, and we only work in it because we love making comics. That gives some editors the idea that they can act like they hired you as a favor and you should be grateful for. Well, I'm going to stop you right there. Working in comics, that's how it is across the board. You should be grateful for working in comics. At least that's how they view it. You can work for very little money and you're going to be happy to because everyone else wants to do it. And they're willing to do it for little to no pay, and they're willing to do it with not even respect, no respect at all. So that's absolutely possibilities. I'm going to continue here. Some editors think that because it's so competitive that we're disposable assets. Yeah, I mean, I think most are. Like really, if if you are disposable, you got to make yourself indisposable. How do you make yourself a writer that cannot be replaced? Artists are a whole other thing because you can, I don't know, it's just more apparent, I guess, if you're a really good artist. But if you are a writer, you have to make yourself irreplaceable. Let's see. Disposable assets. We owe them for the opportunity instead of recognizing that they hired us because they wanted to work with us. Stop there. Is that why they hired you? Because they wanted to work with you? An editor wants to work with a particular writer. Is that why? Perhaps an editor sometimes will hire a writer that's new because they want to have more control. Maybe the editor had a story to tell and wanted to live vicariously. I don't know. Maybe it was a power trip, but they didn't certainly want to work with you if they were, so willing to fire you. Apparently. It continues on here. I have had so many wonderful experiences with amazing editorial partners, but some editors think they're king S word and you're just S word. So yeah. Maybe ending a sentence in so yeah is a bit of a problem. I'm getting rude now. Okay, don't put up with that S. You deserve to be treated with respect and professionalism. Oh, and one more thing. As a result of all this, the book ended up dropping a year after it was supposed to. And this is an absolute random moment in the state without any strategy to sell. Thanks. Mac. Is Mac the made up name or the actual name of the editor? It's not going to take much effort to really figure out who it is. Anyway, yeah. So here it goes. I'm going to read this next paragraph here for you. Someday I shall regale you all with the story of the Transformers versus Visionaries, the comic teetering right at the end of the Hasbroverse, and the constantly shifting directives that made such a frustrating mess. But that is a tale for another day. My endless love for Alex DeCampi. Da 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 da. Okay, so here's the thing. If this is what it looks like when you work for a comic book company with IP that you don't own or control, everybody's going to have an opinion, and sometimes you're not going to understand it. There are so many stories of writers putting together a pitch package. They're ready to tell a story. They want to do a comic. They put the pitch in. They have to wait. They're doing all the work up front. When you're a writer, you're just writing the whole thing. You might pitch it, but ultimately you could write the entire thing out, full script, and still not get paid if they don't pick it. That absolutely happens. There are a number of horror stories where it does. And that's just comics. You could write an entire manuscript for a novel and it go nowhere. You'll waste a year or 2 years of your life writing a novel and nothing. You have nothing but wasted time. So that happens as well. Working for yourself is fantastic. I like to be able to set my own schedule. If I have my way, what I'd like to do is set up an entire publication schedule of 3 books a year, maybe 2 or 3 a year, and I have everything planned out ahead of time. I know when the books are going to be completed. I know when they're going to ship. And, I could continue like that in perpetuity if I had my way. I think that I could, in theory, do that, potentially. But when something goes wrong, you are the editor. At the end of the day, everything falls on your shoulders. If sales aren't happening, it's your problem. So there are some difficulties that come in there as well. Ultimately, I like being in indie comics. There are a few books that I would work on. given the opportunity, and you know, it's not going to happen, but given the opportunity, I would write. There's a few out there that I would. For the most part, though, I know you're thinking like Clint, you'd kill to write Batman. I really wouldn't. I would not. Uh, if I had the opportunity to write Batman, I would probably turn it down, because I think that there are people that would do a better job with it. They're more passionate about Batman. I like Batman, but I just I don't know. It wouldn't be for me. So to live through that, part of the reason it wouldn't is because editorial would be on you so hard. It would be very difficult, I would imagine, to really do the story that you want to do because everyone's watching that IP like a hawk. When you're doing your own stuff, you got to watch your own IP like a hawk. Anyway, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps my channel out. And check out the Alterna Comics Winter 2021 pre-order campaign. Thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next video.